welcome to Relish Books. Today I am talking about a book that I have meant to talk about since I started the channel, but I've been putting it off because I just really feel like I can't do justice to it, but I am going to try to talk about it today and just give you a little idea of how great it is. And it is one of my favorite books of all time. I've mentioned it a couple times. It's on my top 10. Anybody who's familiar with it will know that that's what my channel is named for, and it is Ray Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. Bradbury is not known for this book. If you look at the kind of genre that he usually writes in, he's known for science fiction and his disturbing stories. He's known for like his Martian Chronicles, and really, though, this is totally different. Sometimes you'll even find this like on the science fiction shelf, just because that's where Ray Bradbury is usually put. This is totally different. It's somewhat autobiographical. It's about, he changed the name, but it's like about his hometown in Illinois. The town is called Greentown in the book, and about his growing up and about his family and friends. But it also has this definitely a fictional quality to it as well. And some people have described it as being kind of the ultimate book about childhood, the greatest description, or bringing to you the feeling of nostalgia and, longing for childhood, this sense of not wanting it to end that you really feel through this book that nobody else has really ever done before. And again, it reminds me of a couple other things. It has some of the same feeling as like Lake Wobegon stories. I mentioned in my Winesburg, Ohio video that Winesburg kind of feels like a very depressing, dark version of Dandelion Wine. Because Dandelion Wine, even though it is largely about nostalgia, it's largely about trying to hang on to childhood, trying to hang on to time as it's slipping by. It's also a story that is just a very vibrant celebration of being alive. So in the earliest chapters, Douglas Spalding has this moment where he realizes that he's truly alive for the first time. And then throughout the summer, he's trying to live up to that. It feels like he's trying to chase experiences that will make him really feel life to the fullest. And again, he's trying to just hang on to the summer. He doesn't want it to end. It has this feeling and this sense of that when the summer ends, everything will be over. When they go back to school, life is over. That I remember, no matter what your childhood, I feel like everybody kind of has that sense at some point that you just want to hang on to those perfect days. And even when, things are going wrong, you're having struggles with your family or your friends or whatever, there's this hanging on to childhood that you definitely feel sometimes. And he writes about that so well. And yeah, it's an amazing book. Definitely read it if you haven't. It's truly special. It's one of a kind. Again, I don't think there's anything else like it in the world. I remember reading it for the first time, and I read it because I'd heard about it before, but I remember I was reading this. It was like a graphic autobiography by an artist, and the book was called Relish, referencing the relish quote in Dandelion Wine, and she had that quote at the beginning of the book. And just reading those couple lines, and I'm not going to say what they are because I don't want to spoil it, it's one of the best parts in the book, but just reading those couple lines, I knew that I had to read the book that they came from. Just those lines were amazing. And The graphic novel itself is good too, by the way. I don't remember the author's name, but it's about her growing up in a family that were chefs and loved food, and I don't know. It's just about her life, but it's really interesting. So um, that's a side note, but that's what made me want to read the book. And when I got it, I reading those like that first chapter, I had that sense that you get sometimes in a really special book of discovery. Um, you start it and you immediately know that it's going to be amazing. You know that it's going to become one of your favorites and be, not to be dramatic, but like life changing in a sense. You read it and you're like, why have I never heard of this before? Why have I never read this before? Why aren't people talking about this? And of course, people do in the right circles, but it's not as well known as I feel like it should be. It is truly a classic, truly one of a kind. Something that I love about it too is that, it's about Douglas Spalding and it's about his family and his summer, but it's written in short story form, and there are these chapters that deal with different members of the town. So you have all these different stories, all these different experiences, and everybody that I've talked to about the book, everybody likes it. Everyone that I've heard talk about it that's read it really loves the book, and it's really special to them in some way. But everybody has a different favorite chapter. And sometimes the chapters that they found the most meaningful and that they love the best are some of my least favorite. So it's just really interesting to get people's different perspectives on it. I know that some people's favorite is the lime vanilla ice chapter with the young reporter and the old woman and their odd kind of friendship. She kind of like takes him back in time and tells him stories of the old days, and they had this relationship. And that's not one of my favorite chapters, but a couple people that I've heard talk about it, is one of their absolute favorites. I think it's just like really sweet. I think it's a kind of weird one. I don't love it, but yeah, sometimes people's favorite is the chapter where Douglas gets a new pair of shoes. I remember that's one of my husband's favorites. He was like, I know exactly what that feels like. That is what it felt like to get a new pair of shoes when you're a kid. That's one of my favorites too, but not my absolute favorite. I don't know. For me, it's hard to beat the grandmother's kitchen chapter. That one is really, really great. No matter how much I love any of the others, that one has to probably be my favorite. But I feel like while the relish quote kind of wraps up the entire feeling and the entire idea and message of the book, I feel like the happiness machine chapter is the chapter that stands out to me as kind of like the whole idea of the book in one story about this man who tried to build a happiness machine and the reason that it didn't work. I don't know, it's really neat. And it kind of has that almost this little touch of the fantastic to it, because he actually built a happiness machine in his shed or whatever. And so there's this almost like this little bit of fantasy edge to the book, which again is more like has the sense of more like what Ray Bradbury's known for, because he usually does write weird like science fiction stuff. But yeah, I love it. I love it as a whole. Again, some of the chapters are really sad. The chapter where he says goodbye to his best friend, I've heard people say that was like just a super meaningful and emotional experience for them, thinking about their childhood friends. So there's chapters that are really sad that can like make you cry, and then there's ones that are really, really funny. There's a couple that kind of make you angry. So it has a full spectrum of feelings to it, and it also, I don't know, this feeling of being a child, but it's not a book for children. It's for adults, and I feel like it's like a love letter to childhood from the perspective of an adult, and it's about again, it's about being alive. It's about loving life in all its different forms and emotions. And yeah, it's just a truly incredible, special book. And the Dandelion Wine itself, the family makes the Dandelion Wine, they label it with the different days of summer, and then they like drink it during the winter, and it's like this holding the memory of summer. And yeah, just so many beautiful ideas. Yeah, I love it. It's one of my absolute favorites. I think about it a lot. It's the first book that I lent to my husband to read before we I guess we were just like friends at the time. It was before we started dating, but I gave him that book to read, and he really liked it, and he read it really quick, and so I was very pleased and impressed. So I don't know, it's just special in a lot of ways. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, definitely do that. And I'm just gonna end with a fun little story. So I mentioned in one of my last videos that my hometown has or used to have, I think COVID kind of shut it down, but had a writers conference, and it was a pretty big deal in the town, and they would get a lot of different people. Like Anthony Dwyer was the keynote speaker one year, Diane Ackerman was the speaker the next year when I attended the conference, and I might make a video about Zookeeper's Wife next time, just because I've been thinking about it. And when I attended the conference, they had this reading evening where a bunch of the speakers and teachers from the classes were just doing readings from their work, and in the evening. And I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to all these speakers, and I'm going to buy one of their books afterward, and meet one of these authors. I'm going to pick one to meet and get them to sign my book. And so I'm listening, and some of them were not great, and some of them were really good. I remember Jamie Ford was one of them. He was the author of The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, and his reading was really good. It was super gripping. It was just an excerpt from from the newest novel that he was working on, which I think has since come out. I need to get that. I remember I was waiting for it, and it took a few years for it to come out, but and his reading was really gripping, and I was like, okay, I think it's going to be him. I think I'm going to buy one of his books and get him to sign it afterward. And then this other guy got up who was a super nice guy. I'd been to a couple of his classes. I'd sat with him at breakfast one morning. He's just a really nice guy. He was more of a nonfiction writer, although he writes short stories and essays mostly. And he was nice, but I did not expect him to be the author that I'd be picking. And then his essay was about Ray Bradbury and Dandelion Wine. And he was really talking about a lot of the things that I felt about the book. And I hadn't really heard people talk about it before. So it was just super exciting. And he had this really, really neat story of when he was a kid, writing a paper about Ray Bradbury. It was a thing in school where you had to write about a hero. And he wrote about Ray Bradbury, one of his heroes, in Dandelion Wine. And Ray Bradbury somehow or other read the paper. Someone must have sent it to him or something. And he contacted this young man and talked to him about it and how he appreciated the paper. And they ended up meeting and becoming friends. And it's just really, really neat. And it really resonated with me. So afterwards, I got one of his books and got him to sign it. And he is B.J. Hollers, just a small author. I think he's a teacher at a university somewhere. And this book is pretty good. I like it. The essays are good. He's not the most amazing writer in the world, but this one's good. I've read some of his other stuff that wasn't as great, but I do really like this one. This is only a test, and it's an essay collection. And so I went and met him, and he was super nice, and got him to sign my book. And then he, so yes, I have his signature. It's very nice. But and then he pulled out his phone and played a voice recording that he had from Ray Bradbury when they used to call each other, and because Ray Bradbury died a couple years before, and it was just so neat. He had this personal recording, and I don't know, it was really neat and really special. And it's like, Ray Bradbury's dead. I can never meet him, but it was really neat to meet somebody who had been his friend, and who could like talk about him personally, and had the same feelings for the book that I did. So anyway, Dandelion Wine, absolutely amazing. I'm sure I've left out a lot of what I meant to say about it. It's always almost impossible to talk about one of your favorite books. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't read it, make sure to read it. It's a classic in every sense, literary, just an amazing book. So thanks. I will see you next time. Bye.